All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and me. So last night, I reported on the tragic death of country legend Naomi Judd, all right, who passes away at the age of 76 from mental illness. Now, I've just asked a few what I consider to be medical experts about that um, that declaration that she passed away from mental illness. And most of the replies I've gotten back, and again, I'm not trying to be TMZ here. I know some people accuse this of being a gossip channel, and this isn't gossip. This is a serious point that I'm trying to make here. In any event, I got back some replies from some people I trust, and they've told me that people just don't stop living, like their heart doesn't stop or their brain function doesn't stop typically from mental illness. Mental illness is a condition that obviously can provoke one to do things that they probably shouldn't do. If they're feeling panicked and they're feeling like the world is closing in on them, then they may decide to take their own life. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened. And in these situations, we've seen in the past when I've had a few questions about someone's sudden passing, I've often thought to myself, well, something about this doesn't seem right. And of course, if you start poking around, you start asking questions, people are like, you're very insensitive in this time. And I'm like, maybe I am. Maybe I agree with that. I don't know. But I don't think we want to tell people that if they're depressed, they're just going to die at some point. I think it would be better to say, some of you can probably get help. Now, in the case of Naomi Judd, she was abused as a child. That was one thing that contributed to her mental illness. I'm sure being forced from the touring scene back in 1991 because of her hepatitis diagnosis did not make things any better for her. And there's this one interview that I found here. And the title of the interview is "Put on Your Big Girl Pants and Deal with It." That's the title of the interview, or at least a quote from the interview, which again is interviewing Naomi Judd, who is detailing her struggle with mental illness in what they call a heartbreaking interview before her death. Again, the disease of mental illness. And I'm not trying to minimize this. I'm just trying to figure out what that really means. Is it a disease? Sure. Does it typically cause spontaneous death? I mean, she was 76 years old. So that opens up other possibilities, unfortunately, as to what it might be in addition. But nobody who I spoke with says, hey, you're sleeping, and then the next thing, mental illness has taken you from this world. That's not typically how that works. The interview itself talked about her descent into depression and how she emerged with hope. That's emerged past tense. When asked why she was willing to talk publicly about her battle, Judd said, because what I've been through is extreme, because it was so deep and so completely debilitating and life-threatening, and because I have processed and worked so hard for these last 4 years. Again, this is a fairly recent interview. Judd recalls thinking, if I live through this, I want someone to be able to see what they can survive. Judd said her struggles stemmed from being molested by a family member as a child. I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to write the book, because I never acknowledged all the bad stuff that people did to me, she said. Judd didn't have immediate family members there to support her, she said, so she had only herself to rely on. I had to realize that in a way, I had to parent myself. We all have this inner child, and I needed for the first time in my life to realize that I got a raw deal. Okay, now I'm a big girl. Put on your big girl pants and deal with it. I started in therapy, and I call it radical acceptance, she said. Every day I exercised. In 2017, Judd said in an interview on Today that at one point I didn't get off my couch for 2 years. I was so depressed that I couldn't move. My husband and my girlfriends and Ashley would come over, and I would just go upstairs and lock the door to the bedroom. Judd added that she even contemplated suicide. Now, that's kind of an important line in this. That's how bad it can get, she added. It's hard to describe. You go down in this deep, dark hole of depression, and you don't think that there's another minute. She said at one point her family called 911 in the middle of the night to get her the help she needed. Through different treatments and therapies, including electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, Judd said she was able to stabilize. One of the things that happens with depression is throughout my life, I've had a lot of tragedies, and you just keep squelching it down. You just keep suppressing it. And all of a sudden, one day, if you don't deal with it, this starts coming out sideways. Judd's husband, Larry Strickland, stuck by her through the end of her life. The two were married in 1989. At the time of the interview, when her book was being released and Judd was discussing her battle publicly, Strickland shared a message for those with friends or family who suffer from depression. Get ready to walk that path with them, because they're going to need you every minute, Strickland says. Judd shared a message of her own from her book. I have told my story. Now you know, and you can tell yours. You're not alone. I'm still here. Now, this article goes on to point out that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the US, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and a leading cause of death in the year 2018. They're not really talking about the era that we're currently in, which I've heard, but statistics, I haven't seen a lot of them, about over the last 2 years as we've gone through lockdowns. And tell you what, the media on its own can depress people. The media creates problems, and people feel as though that there's no way out, that they're not going to ever be able to deal with it. People say this is the new normal. You say that to someone who's already depressed, and it acts like an accelerant. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. So these are just questions. This isn't trying to disrespect the family and say, let's just be a little bit more accurate here. Certainly you can say that she passed away due to struggles with mental illness, but most likely there was some other action that was taken to get to this point. I don't know, folks. It's really a delicate topic, and it's important that people understand that in no way am I trying to belittle this condition. Actually, I'm trying to get more information out there. So maybe prevention is something that people can really work through. 76 years old and battling this for years and years and years, and all of these inner demons and thoughts. And then you've got, the world changing as we know it, and everybody's just, yes, follow the plan, do what we tell you to do. And of course, there's no mention of any of that. See, that's what I find to be really disturbing, that the media just pretends that the world is just the same as it's always been. And people have dealt with these problems for a very long time, but they've never, ever been through what we've been through the last couple of years. And everybody has a vested interest in keeping that narrative going. The music industry, right, keeps it going all the time. Lindsey Buckingham, yesterday, whenever, had to cancel concerts. Why? Because, it's out there still. And people who've done what they're supposed to do, according to all these people, came down with the thing, right? Now, am I blaming this on the thing? Not directly, but there's this idea of collateral damage. And even people who haven't struggled with mental illness their whole life, like Naomi Judd, there are people out there who suddenly have all of this depression and all of this anxiety. And suicide in 2018 was at number 10 on the list, which is just insanity. My guess is that that position of 10th is probably more like 7th or 5th now. I don't know. I haven't seen the stats on this, but everybody just ignored that aspect of things. Everybody just said, hey, this is for the greater good, right? This is to keep everybody safe. Well, not everybody. This won't keep people who are depressed safe. No, this will spark a lot more anxiety and cause so many more problems. And it's basically, again, adding more fire to an already, raging inferno for some people. So this just is depressing on the news level here, that I think the lying and the deception and all, and I can't look, I'm not a doctor and I can't link all of this together. But my guess is the last couple of years have not been good for a lot of people who are already kind of on the edge of disaster, right? So again, no apologies, obviously, will be coming from the media or anybody who may have made matters worse, because they feel like they're doing God's work by, freaking people out and making people anxious. And anxiety and depression, hey, it's for the greater good. And so again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Judd family, the country music industry, who truly lost a legend. The Judds were the thing in the 80s, and they deserve to be, because they were unique, a mother-daughter duo. They could sing like nobody's business. Great songs, great radio songs. I mean, that was when country music started to turn a corner, and they took some of those 80s influences, the pop music, the keyboard stuff, and slick production, and it really helped with that genre a lot. And then it put them on a path for an even bigger success in the 1990s, and then for a little while after that, before the whole bro country, click track R&B country thing started, which is not really country. And some will say, hey, the Judds, they're not, hardcore country either. I would probably argue a bit with that. It's not Waylon and Willie, right? But it's still much better than the stuff we have today. And you can sing along to it, and it's not irritating. And these two women were just great artists and great vocalists. So again, it's really sad. I don't know in the end how you die from just what they're saying. The mental illness technically causes somebody to do something like this. So technically it's correct. But if there's somebody there to stop you, or if there's a medication, or, and again, I'm not advocating for more pharmaceutical products here, because it's just, this is what they want. They want people essentially addicted to all kinds of things so they can keep producing them and keep running advertisements. Hopefully there are no big pharma commercials tonight during the Country Music Hall of Fame, hopefully. But my guess is something is going to be sponsored by somebody, right? And every time I turn on the TV these days, they've got something to fix some problem that I have. Well, in this case, whatever these guys were doing for Naomi Judd, it was a complete failure. So again, I blame, like I said during this, I blame the media. I blame the pharmaceutical industry. I blame the hype, and yes, we'll make more money off the fear, and damn the collateral damage. We don't care. And that's what this is. This is collateral damage, and it's a tragedy. So again, that's my video. See you soon.